roof is open at Lucas Oil Stadium. Temps are in the high 50s and low 60s as the Houston Texans face the Indianapolis Colts and Carson Wentz for the first time this year. Both teams sitting at 1-4 in the division and coming off losses that ended in fourth quarter comebacks in week 5. Davis Mills is looking to build off his best performance last week when he became the first ever rookie with 300 plus passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 140 passer rating. He will get rookie wide receiver Nico Collins back in the lineup. Collins was activated off IR this week. And the Colts, they get back T.Y. Hilton, who also came off IR this week. He scored 11 touchdowns in 18 games versus the Texans. The Texans on offense will be without starting left tackle Laremy Tunsil and their center Justin Britt. What are the starting lineup changes and the top stories heading into today's game? We'll get into all of it, plus hear from defensive lineman John Greenard. Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon, starts now.
We are ready to rock in Houston. Touchdown, Houston!
Are you kidding? What a catch. Oh, baby.
Y'all know what time it is? It's time to get activated.
Welcome into Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. I'm your host, DP Sidhu, along with my good friend Drew Doherty. It's week 6. The Texans up in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. Lots to get to in our show today. I think, Drew, the main storyline is going to be this offensive line. A lot of changes, and they're without 3 starters today.
Yes, Justin Britt not going to go. He didn't even make the trip. They had to keep him back on Saturday. So in his place, it's going to be Justin McCray starting, and then out on the left side, Jaron Christian. For Laremy Tunsil, the Pro Bowler who went on injured reserve earlier this week. And then Charlie Heck is, I think you got to put an asterisk by that one. He's played a lot, and he started last week.
That's true.
In place of Marcus Cannon. But yeah, big losses at the left tackle and center spot. Texans going to need to be tidy today because DeForest Buckner can wreck some games over on the other side of the line there.
Yeah, and they didn't have a lot of depth, so they elevated Lane Taylor, who hasn't played for the Texans this year. He started off training camp and PUP, started off the season on IR, and Cole Toner from the practice squad to the active roster. So they do add a little bit of depth should they need it in today's game. The good thing is you've got your starting guards that are healthy in the lineup.
Right.
You've got Titus Howard and Max Sharping in the lineup, and there's Davis Mills warming up, coming off his best performance, 300 yards passing. Wasn't enough to get the win last week, but certainly, Drew, lots of positives that came out of that game against New England.
Absolutely. What we were talking about earlier, it's all about keeping that guy upright, keeping him clean, because going into last week, really going into every game we've heard all season long, and then as well as in the preseason and the training camp, it's all been about not making mistakes and not turning the ball over. And that's one of the first things I asked David Culley when he was hired. You know, the day he was introduced to the public, I said, well, what's your offensive plan going to be like? And he didn't get specific, but the first thing he said was, we can't turn the ball over. And that's one thing that Mills did not do last week. No picks, no fumbles, whereas the week before, threw it away 4 times to the Bills. So he cleaned that up and was remarkably accurate, over 70% passing, which you hadn't really seen much of him or from him basically in May, June, August, and now into September. So if he can keep that up, if he can build on that, boy, you've really, really got something with Davis Mills. But yeah, there's going to be some question marks up front blocking for him. And those question marks might get answered in a good way. We just don't know yet. We got to wait and see.
All right, well, let's get into some of our quick hits, our top stories of the week. Carson Wentz, he's coming off his best performance. He had 402 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions in that overtime loss against the Baltimore Ravens. Defensive coordinator Lovie Smith has been watching the quarterback for a long time, and he says he knows exactly what sort of challenges he presents to this defense.
I know, just kind of going back, of course, big fan of his early on in his career and on what he's done really in the NFL. But coming there, I know he had a few injuries early on, but, we just started really focusing in on him this past week. So you look at the last game each week. I started looking at the last game and played about as well as you could possibly play at the quarterback position. But just in the past, he's mobile. He's a big guy. He's mobile, smart. I'm familiar, of course, with one of my better friends in coaching is from, he's coached at North Dakota State forever, so I know an awful lot about him. So big challenge for us. He's playing his best ball right now, and with their quarterback position playing great ball, complementing their running game. They have 3 excellent running backs, good offensive line, and Baltimore really never stopped them last week. It'll be a big challenge for us.
Well, the Texans look to get their ground game going again. They haven't rushed for over 100 yards since that Week 1 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts' run defense is allowing 108 yards per game on average on the ground. Is this the week the Texans get their run game going? Offensive coordinator Tim Kelly certainly hopes so.
Hopefully this week or next week I'm not answering this question. Doing a good job at every level. I saw Davis yesterday come in and kind of shouldered some of the blame. So yeah, some of it's there, some of it's play design, some of it's up front, some of it's with the back. So until we can get everybody really on the same page and executing at a high level, we're not going to get the results we want. So we had a good day of practice yesterday in pads, and hopefully that pays off for us in Indy.
Well, last week, Kaimi Fairbairn kicked his first extra point and field goal attempt since he came off IR in Week 4. He was 1 of 2 on field goals, 1 of 3 on extra point attempts. Special teams coordinator Frank Ross says that the kicker, who has set so many numerous records for the Texans, just needs to keep doing what he's doing to get back on track.
Not just Kaimi, but any kicker. If you don't have a process that you're comfortable with, sticking to, if you're just all of a sudden shooting from the hip, I would project that would not make you very successful for very long. Stick to the process, do what you do well, continue to focus, self-correct, and move forward. Simple as that. If you start changing who you are, you're not going to be able to be that consistent. Which all we know is that's the most successful kickers are exactly that.
All right, let's get to some of your inactives for the week and some starting lineup changes. Drew's got them for us right here with his handy-dandy napkin that he likes to tweet out every single week.
That is correct, DP. And as we mentioned earlier, no Justin Britt. The center will not play. So watch the center snap exchange today. Could be an interesting one. It's going to be Justin McCray starting in his place. No Danny Amendola at wide receiver. Charles Omenihu is also inactive. Plus the rookie Brevin Jordan at tight end. His time is coming. We've heard a few weeks now. But the time will not be today. Scotty Phillips, inactive yet again, has not made it up on the active roster yet this season. Plus wide receiver Davion Davis, corner Jimmy Moreland, and of course quarterback Deshaun Watson not going to play today. So one thing that's you need to note, you will see Nico Collins active today. Won't know how much he'll get out there, but got some questions. Angel want to know if Scotty Phillips is going to get more reps. No, not getting him today. He's inactive like we heard. And Logan was asking, is Nico Collins going to play today? He's at least active, and I think if he's active, you'll probably see him out there running routes and catching passes, and that's got people excited on the offense. We've heard that from Brandon Cooks and from others, so he looked good when we were out there at practice this week. Saw Davis Mills hooking up with him on some longer stuff during those days of work, so I can't wait to see what the rookie can do, number 12.
Yeah, Nico Collins had that nice 30-plus yard catch against Cleveland.
Then he was out.
Then he had the shoulder injury, so we didn't really see much of him. He went on IR, so it's good to see him back in the lineup. Him and Mills really had a lot of chemistry, I think, in training camp. And we talked so much about Nico Collins and what he was able to do. And so I think it will be comfortable for Davis Mills to get the rookie wide receiver back, because he's someone that, when he wasn't the starter, he was getting a lot of reps with.
Yeah, and perhaps that helps that guy, 13, Brandon Cooks, out as well, because Brandon Cooks was getting all the targets in the first 4 weeks of the season, and then he was not taken away, but you didn't get to hear as much from him last weekend as you had in the first quarter of the season. So perhaps getting Collins out there draws away a little attention. And hey, number 15,
what have you seen
Chris
from him?
Moore,
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, what a call-up. He was on practice squad 8 days ago, and then 7 days ago, leads the team in receiving yards, catches a long touchdown pass, had a great afternoon. So this is a nice thing, bolstering that receiver core, because their secondary, the Colts, has been banged up. So I like it. Marcus wants to know where he can watch the game for free. Well, it's on CBS, and then it's also on HoustonTexans.com and the Houston Texans mobile app if you live in the Houston viewing area, DB.
Well, Eddie wants to know, what changes would David Culley make today? I think there's plenty of changes in the starting lineup, but I guess he means as far as on offense and defense. I don't know if he makes a lot of changes as much as they just really want to execute what they have going a little bit better, because that's what I've heard about the ground game. Everyone just needs to execute better. They thought they had a good game plan last week. Execution just fell short in the second half. They came out great on that opening drive against the Patriots. Nice long drive, ate up so much of the clock, scored a touchdown. They want to see more of that today.
Yeah, what we hadn't seen through the first 4 games was deep strikes, and they got some of those. They got some explosive plays in the passing game last weekend. So what we still didn't see last week was, like you're talking about, success from the running backs on the ground. They're averaging no better than about 2.7, 2.8 yards a carry, the running backs, when they do get the ball. So perhaps you can keep those deep strikes going and maybe get some more production out of the running back spot, because I say it's get production out of the running back spot, but it's more a team thing. You need to get more yards from the running backs, and that's going to have a lot to do with how they're blocked for and all that stuff, and what they're checked into play-wise before the play is snapped, or before the ball is snapped. So, yeah, maybe that's a difference. You can run the ball more effectively, perhaps, against this defense, although we shall see, because the Colts always seem to have the Texans' number all time. They've won at basically a 2-to-1 rate when these guys have played over the 20 years that they've been in existence.
Yeah, and I think seeing T.Y. Hilton back, no Texans fan likes to see that. But he actually does do better when he plays on the road versus at home. He's got 9 touchdowns when he plays here at NRG Stadium, only 3 touchdowns when he plays at home in his career games with the Colts, which is 18, 9 at home and 9 on the road. So
yeah,
it's going to be a wide receiver matchup today for sure. Maybe it'll be high scoring. I don't know, but that brings us to our next question. David wants to know, what do you expect from the defense today?
Well, you got to get after Carson Wentz. You got to make things tough on him. You got to exploit some of the problems that the Colts are having injury-wise up front on the offensive line. You're not going to see Quentin Nelson, who's just an all-world offensive lineman. He's still out with an injury, and Braden Smith is not going to go either. So they're banged up front. Hopefully you could make something happen. You weren't able to against a banged-up Patriots offensive line last week, but maybe that can change, and maybe guys like Jonathan Greenard, who you're going to hear from in a little bit, and Jacob Martin, who I was going to say, maybe they can get after the quarterback and make some problems happen. Maybe Jordan Jenkins, who is up while Charles Omenihu is down. Maybe Jordan Jenkins can get to the quarterback as well.
Yeah, and I think on the Colts side of the ball, just stopping the run. Your defense is really going to have to stop the run with Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack. Jonathan Taylor had, he's dangerous on the ground and through the air.
I was going to say stopping Jonathan Taylor more than just stopping him.
Maybe just stop him all around.
He's had 3 games this year where he has over 100 yards from scrimmage combined. So he can, you saw last week. What happens last week against the Ravens on Monday Night Football? They get stopped on first down, they get pushed back on second down, so it's third and really long, and basically they're kind of waving the white flag and they're doing a screen pass on third down just so they can punt it away and maintain good field position. Well, instead of that, Taylor catches the screen and busts it 70-some yards for a touchdown. So you've got to always be wary of that. Last year you saw this guy split out to the right side, and no one was even on him, and they had an easy pitch and catch, Rivers to Taylor, and he scores a touchdown. So you can't let stuff like that happen. Mental errors, mental breakdowns. You got to be very, very disciplined against this guy because he can make things happen. And then on the other side, you see Mark Ingram. He's one of those guys, like, he's gotten a little bit of yardage when he's been met at the line or behind the line of scrimmage. He's done his darndest to actually get forward and move the pile a little bit, but you want him to not have to move a pile until he's about 3 or 4 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. That's maybe perhaps asking too much today, but you've got to be more effective when you're running the ball, and you've got to be able to at least take away, the defense just keying in on the run like that and getting lazy when it comes to the pass game.
Yeah, just getting a few yards, I think, on first down would certainly help keep you out of those second and long, third and long situations. But, Mark Ingram and these backs, we saw such a strong start to them this year, especially against Jacksonville, even in week 2 when Tyrod Taylor was in the game. And then Davis Mills comes in. It has been tough sledding a little bit, but I think as Davis Mills gets a little bit more comfortable, they're certainly hopeful that the ground game gets going again, too. I know these backs have been hungry to get the ground game going. The offensive line has, too. It's certainly not going to be an easy day, especially with your 2 tackles and center Justin Bird out today. Yeah,
and you see the 4 running backs. Rex Burkhead is back after missing last week.
Yeah.
That's another reason you don't see Scotty Phillips. But you do have 4 running backs. You do have 5 wide receivers. You got 3 tight ends going. And it leads into a question from Craig. It's a kind of natural one. What's Tyrod Taylor's status? I thought he was going to be back for this game, but I guess his hamstring couldn't go. But whenever the hamstring is ready and whenever he is fully healthy, David Culley, the head coach, has said, that's the starter. That's who is going to be under center. So he'll come in and Mills will exit stage right.
Yeah, and Tyrod Taylor, he's had to miss 3 games on IR. He's missed those 3 games. So it could be like a Nico Collins situation where you designate him for return, and then he could be active as early as next Sunday. So certainly something that David Culley will get asked about throughout the week and every single week until they decide what to do with his status coming off IR, because he will come back. In the meantime, you've got Jeff Driscoll elevated off the practice squad. He's serving as your backup, and you're looking there at some of the linebackers.
Kamu Grugier-Hill, he leads his team with 5 tackles for loss on the season. If you'd have said before the season started, hey, 5 weeks in, Kamu Grugier-Hill is going to be leading you with your tackles for loss, I think most people would have been pretty excited. Well, surprised certainly, but excited. Excited certainly, but surprised more so. And he has been a special team standout before he got here. Contributed a little bit on defense when he was with the Eagles, but not as much. And now he's been one of your 2 starting linebackers and really rarely comes out of the game, along with the other starter over there in Christian Kirksey.
We had Kamu Grugier-Hill on Texans radio this week, and I think you'll be surprised to know that he says Houston reminds him of Hawaii.
Yeah, he said that with me a long time ago. He's great, man. He's awesome.
He loves tacos.
He likes tacos. He likes how
Houston.
Warm everyone is here, and yeah, that was nice. He loves the city of Houston, and I mean he's been in some fun places. Miami, Philadelphia. He was in the country when he was in college in Eastern Illinois. So yeah, it's a big difference. But he's a huge fan of the city, and hey, huge fan of him right now as we look there at another rookie, 91, Roy Lopez, and behind him is Jonathan Greenard. Greenard has 2 sacks in 3 games. He's making things happen. It's going to be fun to see if he can get after the quarterback today. They'll need it, but he's somebody that is starting to show why the Texans used such a high draft pick on him a year ago.
Yeah, last week a sack, 2 TFLs. He got his first career forced fumble in week 3. You had a chance to catch up with him. Here's Drew Doherty going one-on-one with John Greenard.
This pregame interview is powered by Reliant. We've got defensive lineman Jonathan Greenard. Jonathan, always good to be with you. And after 3 games played for you, you missed those first 2 due to injury. How much more comfortable are you getting? How much more into the rhythm are you getting? What's it been like for you?
I mean, I think just getting reps in general, practice and in the games, obviously, just getting reps overall, especially D-line, helps out a lot. I think that is just a true testament of the hard work and just the dedication we put, not just myself, but the team, and we all kind of gel together. I think when I play better or when one guy plays better, we kind of feed off of each other. So I think that kind of makes the energy for all of us play better. So it was fun, man, just getting the feedback wet. I still got some stuff under me that I can just work on to get back better. So I'm excited, though.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a really productive offseason for you, preseason, all that stuff. What was the biggest drawback, other than being hurt, but the biggest drawback of missing that time in August and early September?
Yeah, man, it was tough. I mean, just being away from the game, obviously, for something you love, no one wants to be hurt. But I think just the camaraderie and, like I said, us feeding off each other, knowing each other's tendencies from the linebackers all the way down, it just helps out. I mean, if he knows that I'm a guy that's going to slip a block or, if I'm a guy that's going to just shoot the gap and just clean it up, I mean, it goes hand in hand. So I think overall, missing that and just being out there with the boys, that's something I definitely miss.
Yeah, 5 games in. How do you think this defense as a whole is progressing?
I think we still got a lot in the tank. We played well so far. I don't think we've played great. We haven't played the way we want to play. Obviously just finishing in that aspect. But overall, I think just from the standpoint of technique-wise, understanding the scheme of the defense and how we want to attack people, I think we've done a solid job so far.
Tell me about this Colts offensive line. It's missing a piece or 2, no Quentin Nelson, but still it seems like a pretty capable unit. Tell me about the challenge up front with those guys.
Right. I mean, they still got Fish. I mean, he was a vet in this league, respected in this league. A couple guys, and Ryan Kelly as well. I mean, pretty much we know what type of team they are, and they're a team who plays well collectively as a unit up front. But I think we got our work cut out for us, and we understand who Indianapolis is. We understand that they're a hard-nosed team. They want to grind it out. They want to make sure they run the football, impose their will, and try to open up the offense. Their defense, open up our defense after that. So I think we just got to stop the run first and foremost, and respect the game, and doing that, and that'll hopefully get us to where we want to go on 3rd down.
Hey, stopping the run against this team is no joke.
Oh, yeah.
You're a second-year player.
Right.
Jonathan Taylor is a second-year player.
Right.
You obviously – you knew who he was coming out.
Right.
What have been your impressions about him? Because he came out like a ball of fire, and it looks like he's even better. 3 of the 5 games he's played so far this year, he's had 100 yards from scrimmage.
Easily, yeah, for sure. I mean, Jay Taylor is definitely going to be a respected back, if not already, in this league for a long time. But yeah, he's very decisive, very patient at times. He's pretty much an all-around back. I mean, he's everything you can ask for a Colts running back. I mean, kind of fits that scheme. But yeah, like I said, we got our work cut out for us. He's no slouch by any means. But he still falls at the end of the day. We still definitely got to just get all 11 hats to the ball, and I like ourselves on defense. So it's going to be a battle. I mean, I like what we got going into it, and it won't be no cakewalk.
Yeah, tell me about the quarterback. He had a good game against the Ravens and looks like a little bit a different player than he was last year and before. Carson Wentz, what impresses you most?
Yeah, I mean, it's Carson Wentz at the end of the day. I mean, people can say what he wants. He's been through some injuries, been banged up. They can say he's not that same guy, but at the end of the day, if he wants to turn it on that quick just like that, I mean, he could still open the game up and take over. So we got to respect him. I mean, we just play our game and make him feel uncomfortable, and I think the game will come to us like any other quarterback. But at the end of the day, he's still Carson Wentz. We got to respect him and things that he can do as quality-wise. So just got to get 11 hats to the ball, make him feel uncomfortable, and it'll be what we want.
Okie doke. Now let's see how you're powering game day.
For sure.
It's a noon Central Time kickoff. Therefore, how much sleep do you get the night before? What time do you wake up for a noon game?
Oh, man. Noon game, I'm probably up like 7, 8 o'clock, something like that, just to get the body loose and stuff like that, make sure I eat a good breakfast. Just so I get stretched out when I get up there, just so that way I can just get my body in that mode of just waking up. And once I'm up, I'm up. And then when I get that meal in me, I'm pretty much ready to go. So it's really not much different, kind of almost waking up as if we got a 12:30 practice. I mean, we practice at 12:30 already, so I kind of pretty much do the same routine, get up here about 6:30, 7 o'clock, maybe sometimes a little later if we don't have anything, and just go from there. I mean, I don't really switch too much up just because it's no point. I mean, if it works, don't fix it.
I hear you. You bring up the meal. What do you eat before a game?
Got to get my eggs in. Got to get my potatoes in.
How are the eggs cooked?
Definitely scrambled with cheese.
Okay.
I put some pico in there. Some bacon and ham, especially if I get it personalized. But the bread, as far as pancakes or waffles, whatever is on there. If it's too much, maybe I'm a big French toast guy. So if they got French toast, I eat it. If it's pancakes, waffles, something like that, I may chill a little bit because I don't want to get overwhelmed by eating too much. But
I hear you.
But definitely got to get some eggs, potatoes in there for sure.
All right, when we go off the air and if you happen to run into Danny Amendola, your teammate, ask him about French toast and pregame. So he has some good ideas for you. Final thing, what are you listening to before the game? What sort of music you got going?
Man, I'm playing straight R&B, a lot of gospel. Pretty much the stuff to calm me down, just keep me mellow, because I don't want to get too riled up for a game. Then I let it out, obviously, during the game when it comes up. But, yeah, R&B and slow jams. I mean, I'm just a guy that likes to relax, get in my element, think about what I got to do, get warmed up. It's crazy. I can get warmed up and excited off of just listen to some old school R&B stuff like that. So I'm an old soul, so I like to listen to those things to kind of keep me settled before the game get going.
All right, well, we hope the music is sweet before the game, and we hope you make sweet music.
For sure.
Sacking quarterbacks and tackling Jonathan Taylor behind the line of scrimmage.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Greenard, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck against the Colts.
Appreciate you for having me.
John Greenard there with Drew Doherty, and I was saying I was admiring his glasses while he was doing his interview. He looked like a very studious D lineman, and there's a lot to like about him. Lovie Smith said that he does well rushing the passer and that his best football is still ahead of him. So looking forward to see what the rest of the year brings for John Greenard as he continues to hold down that D-line, and we'll see him in a little bit in the starting lineup. So let's get to those, if we could. Starting lineups for today's game against the Indianapolis Colts up in Indianapolis. Here are your offensive starters. You've got, of course, Davis Mills, Ingram, and Johnson in the backfield, Brandon Cooks, Chris Conley, and then Farrell Brown, who was banged up a little bit in practice. He's back in the starting lineup. And then your offensive line, Jaron Christian Sr. at left tackle for Laramie Tunsil, who's on IR. You've got Titus Howard and Max Sharping there at your guard positions. Justin McCray filling in for Justin Britt, who did not make the trip. And then Charlie Heck getting a second start at right tackle this year. Of course, Charlie Heck started some games last year as well at right tackle. Let's take a look at your defensive starters.
Yeah, you got the same cast of characters for the most part from last week. Jacob Martin, Greenard there at defensive end. And then on the inside, it's the rookie Roy Lopez with Malik Collins. Grugier Hill and Kirksey, like we mentioned, have pretty much not come off the field at all when they've taken defensive snaps. Zach Cunningham, the starter today, has come off time to time when they go into the nickel package. And then Desmond King, Terrence Mitchell, going to be the starters at corner. And they call themselves the Evil Twins, Justin Reed, Lonnie Johnson Jr. Going to be tested today. You got T.Y. Hilton back. Yeah, he's coming off of IR, but when that guy comes back against the Texans, he plays well. He has roasted Houston throughout his career. If there were, and I've said this a few times now, if there were a Mount Rushmore of Texans villains, he's certainly on it, and he probably takes up 2 or 3 faces on that Mount Rushmore. So there you go. T.Y. Hilton's back. They're jacked about it. They've tweeted about it. The Colts have a few times over the weekend that they're excited. So we'll see. But that group of guys right there going to get tested. They need to get after Carson Wentz and make things tough on the opposing quarterback.
Well, Jordan wants to know who will be the sleepers of the game, and I think it's got to be one of these guys here, Drew. I think one of these D linemen is going to have a big game against Carson Wentz. I'll go Roy Lopez because I feel like we haven't said his name in a few weeks.
I like that.
Carson Wentz, pretty good with protecting the football, but he has had a case of the fumbles in earlier weeks. So maybe this defense gets some pressure on him and forces a fumble. A strip sack might be nice today.
I love that choice of Roy Lopez because the book on him coming out was, hey, he's really, really good against the run, and they've been surprised at how well he's been able to penetrate and get upfield, when other teams are passing. So he's been excellent when you look at where he was chosen in the draft. He's the last pick of the Texans in April, and he is starting and has started a few games now, playing a very reliable defensive line spot there on the inside, the interior. You see him do a little bit of work there. But I love that as far as sleepers. And who should my sleeper be? I'll go with number 59, Whitney Merciless. We haven't called his name too much in the last week or so, but he does have a few sacks on the season. Let's see him get another one. Let's see him maybe knock the ball loose. And when he's in, he's not starting. So when he does get in, maybe he's getting a little bit more rest and he's fresher. And he can cause some damage and do some damage. I like those red cleats on him, by the way, with that combo.
Well, you know what? It's an interesting point because with all this turnover on this Texans team, not many of them are familiar with the rivalry between the Colts and the Texans.
We were discussing this
off
off-air.
Hilton. And Whitney's been here for all of it. He knows what this game means to this team and what bitter rivals these two teams are. So I like your pick. I like your pick too.
Drafted the same year as T.Y. Hilton. He's
he
on defense. It's him, and then you've got John Weeks, who he's a special teamer, but he watched from those sidelines year after year after year as T.Y. Hilton has torched this team. So yeah, let's see that. You mentioned Justin Reed. He's seen a little bit of it. He's been around, so he can attest to what T.Y. Hilton is capable of doing against the Texans.
All right, Logan wants to know along those lines, what are the keys to stopping the Colts' run game? Logan, I think we've heard in the past several weeks that this defense, one thing they want to do is tackle better. Avoid the missed tackles. Wrap up the guys and get off the field. Don't let the guys break loose through, half tackles and then, get some more yards after the catch. So I think better execution on the tackles, no more missed tackles. That's what I would say priority number one would be. 1,000,000%
correct, DP. And I'll add this, kind of in a roundabout way, you got to score on offense. You got to make them come from behind. And to do that, you probably got to get a takeaway or two. So get an interception, maybe force a fumble. So they can't run the ball as much. So if they're not able to run the ball as much, they're going to have to go through the air. And it's going to open things up perhaps for you to maybe drop Carson Wentz for more sacks, to get more takeaways via the interception. So yeah, I like what you said. And then in a roundabout way, take a lead and get an early lead so that they can't run as much.
This Colts team is tired. They played 5 quarters of football on Monday night. Then they had to travel
so,
back. So maybe they can take some advantage there of a short week and less recovery time for those players that had to play extra and still came away with the loss. That's so demoralizing. And certainly both teams want to get back in the win column with one today. The division is still up for grabs. They're both 1-4, which is crazy to think here heading into week 6. But it is, and you know what, that's going to do it for us. We are just about 31 minutes-ish from kickoff there at Lucas Oil Stadium. Looks to be a beautiful fall day for football. We, of course, will be covering the game, and you can check out HoustonTexans.com for all the coverage, stories during the game, stories after the game, the press conferences, highlights, and more. That's going to do it for our show today. Thank you to everyone that worked on it, Tyler Marcotte and the crew. And on behalf of Drew Doherty and myself, thank you for watching. Have a great game day, and go Texans.